pillow that holds me in the night, and I will find my strength to unzip my mouth when I used to be afraid of your words. But with you I've learned just to let it out. Now my heart is ready to burst, 'cause I feel like I'm ready for love. And I wanna be everything and more. And I know every day I say it, but I just want you to be sure that I am yours. That I am yours.
Morning everybody, welcome to this morning's assembly. I wanted to talk to you a little bit this morning about happiness. One of my core beliefs is that happy children make great learners. But that begs the question, of course, that we really ought to understand what happiness means. What is happiness? And lockdown might have afforded us some assessment and reflection on what we view as happiness. And potentially some of our views might have changed as to what makes us happy, given the experience of the last 3 or 4 months or so. People not seeing their family as much as they would like, people valuing outdoor space and gardens in a way that perhaps they didn't do before, the relative value of money and wealth and whether that's changed. Does Disney Plus or Netflix make you the most happy? That's obviously a choice that I'm sure many of you have made. Well, there is some work in this regard already. The United Nations releases a World Happiness Report each year. This year's report was released before lockdown, but nevertheless it was released. And the pre-lockdown results suggest that Finland is the most happy country in the entire world. And since 2012, when this happiness report was first released, Denmark have won it 3 times, Switzerland have won it, Norway have won it, and Finland have actually won it for the last 3 years on the trot. What makes these countries so happy? The Nordic countries, all the Nordic countries, appear in the top 10 of the happiest countries in the world, according to this latest UN report. The UK, it will interest you to know, no doubt, is 13th. The 13th happiest country in the world. What are the reasons for these countries coming top? Well, some of the most significant attributes of these countries is the ability of the people within these countries to have support networks, people around them that they can call upon and trust. Levels of trust within the community is also an important factor. The honesty of the politicians and the trust of those politicians is also an important factor for happiness within these countries, as of course is the health of the people in the country and the safety, how safe these people feel within that country. The least happiest countries in the world, well, sadly, I'm sure that many of you will be able to predict which these are. Afghanistan, South Sudan and Zimbabwe are the bottom 3 countries with regard to happiness for very obvious and very well documented reasons, sadly. Those support networks that make a happy country happy, I've mentioned already, are about having family that you can call upon, friends, a real sense of community, and all being important for happiness to provide a sense of belonging. And I think that schools in particular, and Henry's I believe passionately in, provides that. Other significant factors relating to happiness are health, prosperity, and yes, wait for it, one of the other most significant factors to do with how happy people in a country might be is education. Yes, education is seen as important for being happy. Surveys show that education and healthcare are seen as more important to happiness than wealth and GDP, gross domestic product. I'm sure many of you have heard that phrase mentioned in the past, how much money people have. The BBC does a survey of has done a survey of the UK population, which said and explained that the government should focus on making us happier and not wealthier. And that was one of the main findings of the happiness survey that the BBC conducted, 81% of our population thought that happiness was more important than wealth. Surveys like that perhaps have prioritised health over the economy in government decision making during the last few months in our response to the coronavirus pandemic. And certainly people's health has been prioritised above the economy in lots of different ways, and that's come under increased scrutiny of our politicians. Rightmove, who are an online estate agents, have done a survey which actually says within our country, within the UK, which areas of the country are happiest. Again, that's within the UK. So here goes it then, the happiest place to live in the UK, apparently, according to Rightmove, is Hexham in Northumberland, and that came top of the survey. Bob Hull, he's the mayor up in Hexham, and he said it was simply down to the real and honest sense of community that existed within Hexham. Other towns that came top or near the top of that list were Harrogate, Skipton, Altrincham and Southport. They all featured heavily in the top 10. More locally, places that you might know and you might recognise were Leamington Spa. Leamington Spa is the 19th happiest town in which to live in the UK. Coventry, very sadly, was 185th happiest place in the country to live, and that's out of 194 places that were covered in the survey. So again, sadly, not particularly high up in that list. I'd like to think though that Henry's is a beacon of light within that survey, and shows the way within Coventry how people can be happy, how its children can be happy within the city, and is a community which demonstrates that real happiness. It's important to understand that happiness requires someone to be selfless, giving something of yourself back to the community, and that requires trust within the community, and that gift of giving something of yourself must have the trust of the person giving it, so that it's used very wisely. What can cause us to be interested in happiness? What can those of us interested in happiness learn from all of this? And certainly being happy is important to me personally, but if I'm in charge of a school where happy children make great learners, then I've got to learn something from all of this in order to make our children, our community, as happy as it can be, so that we learn the most, which of course is one of the main reasons we're here. Well, I believe that happiness on a fundamental level is about positive human interaction. And sadly, that's been something that has been lacking during lockdown. Lockdown has only reinforced, this notion to me that it is really important for happiness to be accompanied by positive human interaction. The faces of Year 10 children and Year 12 children coming back into school in the last few weeks has demonstrated to me the added evidence that really human interaction is absolutely fundamental to somebody's happiness. My experience is that happy people treat each other better. They treat each other well. Happy people treat each other with respect, with dignity, with patience and with tolerance. The good news is also that happiness is contagious. So if you surround yourself by other happy people, then you're more likely to be happy yourself. I believe our community is fundamentally happy. It's one of our real strengths, and something I say to potential parents and families when they come to look round the school as being something which is a real strength within the school. Children enjoy coming to school and are happy within their community. Well, I certainly hope that will continue in the future. I certainly hope that we all reevaluate what's important to us in making us happy, so that we can improve on our happiness as we emerge from lockdown and hopefully come back to school in greater numbers in the coming months. Thank you for listening this morning. I'll see you next Wednesday. So next Tuesday there won't be a full school assembly because Wednesday is obviously our final day. We'll have a final school assembly next Wednesday, details of that to follow, and that will be my very last whole school assembly at King Henry VIII School. But I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.